Anytime you're ready. Marie Claire Gorham.
Here.
John Krischer. Susan Murphy. Phil Pardue.
Here.
Mary Jo Williams.
Here.
We have a quorum. Thank you.
Okay. I have a pledge of allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any public appearances? I don't see anybody on Zoom, is there? Okay. All right. We'll move on. Announcements from the trustees. Anybody have any?
We had a beautiful event last night in partnership with Sunset Center, sold out, full of kids, more than 100. It was really, really charming, and I think, yeah, wonderful testament to our community.
And I stopped by, I missed you, Ashley, but it was truly amazing. Marie Claire was in her glory. And the kids are having such a great time, but it was very organized, they were just so engaged. It was really wonderful. Yeah, it was fun.
Big thank
Fun
you
to see.
to Sunset Center for partnering with us on that. It was an absolute full house. The entire lobby was children.
Yes. But engaged children,
Very engaged
much
children,
so.
hearkening back to the Sunset School Days. Anders, Marie Claire's son, and I were talking about how it was a school before the program really got started and what that was like. And so it was very special.
Yeah, it's really nice.
That's a change. Everybody tells me there's no kids in town.
No, there were lots of kids.
They weren't at Sunset Center lobby yesterday.
That's really fantastic. That's what we should be doing more of.
It was
That's
fun.
great. It really is. Thank you very much for putting it on. Thank you. All right. Let's move on to the approval of the minutes from our October 23rd regular meeting. Anybody have any changes to that? Got a roll call for that?
You have to have a motion.
A motion to approve the minutes.
Have a second?
Yeah, I second that.
Second.
We need more coffee on this
Yeah.
table.
Marie Claire Gorham.
Yes.
Phil Pardue.
Abstain?
Mary Jo Williams.
Yes.
John Krischer.
Yes.
Thank you. Approved.
All right. Okay, let's receive the librarian's report for October 24.
No major anomalies or anything to note for the librarian's report. Our numbers are good. We're up over the previous month, September. We always kind of see a dip in our numbers for September after summer reading and the back to school, and October sees us coming back up from that again. And so no surprises there. Any questions?
The numbers look really good.
Mm-hmm.
They really were very good.
Yeah, the library's well used.
All right, we'll move on now to receive the treasurer's report for September and October and approve the check register for September and October. Right, Claire?
All right, well, I'll be echoing Ashley. I think with both September and October, the numbers look really great and balanced. And I did not perceive any novelties, anything particularly worth reporting, but it looks great. And I think the team is doing a really good job staying in budget, so.
Yes.
And I will make note that we did receive in November, so it's not reflected here, but the disbursement check in Susan's absence from the Friends of the Library. I think 2 weeks ago when we met, we had estimated that they would, with the transition from the annual book sale, that they would provide us with $22,000 this year, and they wrote us a check for $30,000. So we will discuss that further when we do mid-year budget adjustments and talk about where we are there in January at our January regular meeting.
Spectacular.
But thank you to the Friends of the Library for that, and you'll see
Yes.
that in the November Treasurer's Report.
We're 17,000 under budget right now, as I looked at it.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else, the only thing I saw was administration. That was a little bit up. Everything else was down.
Yeah.
All right. I would have a motion now to approve the check register.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Okay, roll call, please.
Marie Claire Gorham,
Yes.
Phil Pardue,
Yes.
Mary Jo Williams,
Yes.
John Krischer.
Yes.
Approved, thank you.
All right. Let's move on to the receive the monthly report from the Master Plan Ad Hoc Committee for provide staff with direction.
In your agenda packet, we've got the steps taken to date on this project through 2024 and the various meetings that we've had. The latest is that, since we last met, is that we received 6 proposals after the issue of the request for proposals and the mandatory walkthrough. So 6 proposals, 6 responsive proposals. A subcommittee of the Architect Review Committee interviewed all 6 firms and have identified 2 finalists, and the full Architect Review Committee will interview those 2 finalists. The contract negotiations between the city and the Carmel Public Library Foundation are ongoing, and that'll need to be completed before we enter into a contract with an architect. And that's where we are to date.
Any questions from anybody on it?
Nope. No, thank you.
All right, thank you. We'll move on then. All right, we received a report from the Carmel Public Library Foundation and its recent activities. Alex.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Right.
This evening, CPLF will continue with its annual program theme of A Sense of Place with our local history lecture series. And tonight's program is about Herbert Herron and the founding of the Forest Theater. And it's been basically sold out for weeks now. People keep calling to see if there's standing room only. A live reading of Herbert Herron's letters from our library archives will be read by actor Taylor Thomas and narrated by historian Susan Schillinglaw. And it's a special thank you to Katie O'Connell, a local history librarian, for making this possible. Pulling out all the archives, letting people see what we do have as treasures in our library at the Park Branch location. MC Gives campaign is ongoing. That is the countywide campaign. We're about $51,000 now in terms of what we've raised so far, and the campaign ends December 31st, and we're ahead of schedule in terms of meeting or exceeding our funds from last year. So that's really great. And then Ashley just provided the update with regards to the Centennial Harrison Memorial Library project. And I would just add to that to date, CPLF has currently raised approximately $6.2 million towards the project. And we also have some significant gifts pending. And having the physical renderings will greatly assist with our funding, our fundraising efforts. And as Ashley mentioned, the city and CPLF are working on the project agreement too. So we're hoping to have that finalized very soon, and just look forward to a successful collaborative process as we select the final architect. And that's it. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. We'll move on now to receive a report from the strategic planning process.
So we have a strategic planning meeting this afternoon. And I can't thank our strategic planning committee enough. They've been doing great work, so thoughtful, and just a really great group of minds together looking at our previous strategic plan. I have included, just as kind of a sneak preview from what we'll look at in probably January for a rough draft, but a revised mission statement that really, I think, distills who we are and what we do. Our previous mission statement was a little wordy, coming from the library, who would have thought? But working on that, and we also, if you haven't, and I'm sure you have, I know all of you are in the libraries all the time, but at the Harrison Library and at the Park Branch, we have some interactive displays up where people can add programs, things they're looking at, rooms for improvement, things that we could be doing better or different, or all of that, and those will all be taken into account as we work on the strategic plan. And we'll be doing more outreach once we have solid rough draft of our new strategic plan to take it out to the Friends of the Library, the Garden Club, the Carmel Residents Association, and really see what the community has to say about what we're doing, what we're planning on doing over the next 3 to 5 years.
Okay.
So I've kind of lost the thread on the scope of the strategic plan. We're talking about mission statements and then goals and objectives, and we have the Library Foundation looking at an architect, and they're going to want to do renderings. It's really hard for an architect to do that without community input as it goes. And so, does the scope of the strategic plan, master plan, will it encompass that, and will it deliver on a timeline that's meaningful to architectural selection process and figuring out the way forward with that?
It does include, so our previous strategic plan did include an objective in there looking at master plan and using the buildings to their, the best functions within that. And so we'll carry over that thought process. And I know that's not quite getting at what you're thinking, but overarchingly with our strategic plan, and one of the things we learned from the pandemic is not to be so broad in our goals and objectives that they don't have dates on them, they're not accomplishable,
Right.
But regardless of some of the bigger picture things going on, maybe that we're not still doing those things. This will inform, and I know some of the architects did look at our previous strategic plan. They've spoken to that during the process. And there's not going to be, and Mary Jo can speak to this, there's not such drastic changes
Right.
to the strategic plan that these two things won't work together, if that makes sense.
Right, and so I understand what you're saying. So as we go forward, we have if the redesign goes through and architect comes up with renderings based on the needs of the patrons. Mm-hmm. Does that mean that there's more space for computers or less space for computers? Do they want to have more physical books or less physical books? And those come up with two very different visions of
Right.
what the library goes into the future. So will the community input, the committee's doing the plan now, and will the strategic plan, many times, if the strategic plan doesn't have enough definition, you never get the public input on what you want.
Right.
And so sometimes you have to be controversial. You have to put it out there. You sometimes have to push people's buttons to be able to get them to respond to you so that you really find out what they want in their going forward. And so, I would hope that as this project committee went through and we got toward the end, that we would be able to have a project that would engender response from our patrons, rather than just saying, okay, thank you for your interest in the library, and then on to the next thing. And
Right.
we have no information coming out of it.
Yeah, that's,
Right. So I think that both processes, the strategic plan process that we're engaged in at this point in time, will make room and be specific about that community engagement in probably the springtime that's in depth about the building project itself. So here's drawings, here's whatever it is. What do you think? More computers, less computers, all of that. That is going to be very, very critical to the success of any project in either of the library buildings.
Okay.
Yes.
I will just say on behalf of the committee, they've been very interested in getting as much community input, and I think Ashley will sit out here, adds in the pine cone, the boards that are already up in the libraries, and people have been pretty responsive to one woman wrote like pages of notes,
Right.
and like stuff in, and we were really impressed by that, but I think the committee is very aware that we're just a small group. We're not, and we're trying to represent the community at large, but we need much more input. So I think that's, what we're really trying to do is to test this out, get some feedback from people. I don't know that it's controversial so much, but we're pushing people's buttons. But
The reason I brought that out is Mary Claire, Ashley, and the foundation members know we tried this past year to have input
Right.
Right.
And we had a grand total of 3 people from the
Right,
community
understood.
show up.
Yes, I know.
So if you have
That's
3
our
people from
input.
the community
Yeah.
show up, you really don't have community input.
Right.
Right, and I think that one of the things that, and Mary Jo pointed this out, is we invited people to a meeting here at City Hall, and I think meeting people where they're at, that's why we've seen some more engagement in the library with the displays, but also, just simply asking, can I come to the CRA regular board meeting and talk to you about this type of thing, and meeting people where they're at, to do that kind of engagement, especially with regards to the building, and what we're thinking about in the future, and when we get further into that process. Because there will be, right now it's, I think, very vague and nebulous, that project for the public in general. And I think once we get into more of the thick of it, that will be critical.
And so as you come up with the strategic plan, come up with a strategic plan, and it will be, it's a document, so it needs to be,
Right.
it is what it is. But then there's also the implications. There can be a side thing that goes, well, this is what we said in the document. This is the implication for the library going forward.
Mm-hmm.
It means that we're going to lean into more online learning, more computers, and so that means your stacks will go down.
Right.
Or conversely, we're going to lean into having, maintain a robust collection of books, and that means we're going to have less access. We're not going to have increased access to computers. It takes that type of
Right.
point counterpoint to be able to focus people to be able to get their input back. If you're trying to slide it through, you make it vanilla, but if you want the input, you actually have to pose those questions to the public, the pine cone or something to get their interest in. So we do a good service to the foundation as they try to put this project together so that they have the right input. So we're not spinning our wheels, we're not wasting time, we're not wasting
Right.
money. We have an input that they can consider on a timeline that's meaningful.
We have to also be conscious of closing the library down, where we can move to the services. And now we have such a robust children's programs. Park branch, I don't see how we can even go there now. We're gonna have to find something else, and the public's going to be aware it could be, the architects have told me 14 to 15 months. Well, to me, that means 18 months. But we have to work with the public and let them know, you might have to sacrifice services for a while.
Right, and the strategic
that's-
plan hopefully will help us understand what the priorities will be. And the Mary Jo and Marie Claire, as part of the work for the ad hoc committee to look at alternate locations, have been considering that.
Right, so that is absolutely going to be a concern for the public coming up. But would it be better to look at it as, okay, we have the master plan.
Right.
They're 2 separate things.
Right,
They're very related, but they're 2 separate things in that, whether the foundation decides to go forward or not, we need that master plan.
right,
So we need to get to the end of the master plan, so we can communicate to the village and the patrons. Because, the patrons are bigger than the village.
right,
And so and with that, and then that becomes the follow-on question is, all right, this is to answer your master plan, this is what we need to do with the building, these are the implications, this is going to be the downtime as it goes, and then cross that bridge in the future. But I think we need that master plan regardless. I fear that throwing in the mechanics of having to, what's going to happen in the library when it's being redone will not let us get to the master
probably
plan,
right,
which we need. And then once we have that, then we can pivot on to the next question.
Good point, Phil.
That'd be my. And again, I think that the master plan can be what it is, but the implications of that need to be articulated to the patrons, so that we get some kind of comment back. This is the vision, this is the implication of that vision.
right.
Should we relate to the Residents Association, to their board, and then they can go to their members about having meetings somewhere, Carpenter Hall or somewhere, with everybody, that all the organizations are well aware of what's going on, and have them meet at a certain place?
I think that potentially, yes, we can start talking to those groups about that. I think that this discussion has been very helpful, and the points that Phil has brought up today are great for Mary Jo and I to take back to the Strategic Planning Commission, our committee this afternoon in particular, because we worked through, mission and vision statement, just overall where the library is today, where we've been, where we think we're going, and we're working through the goals and objectives right now, point by point. And we're on, I think, goal number 2 starting today, having worked through goal 1. And so this is a perfectly timed discussion for this and great input.
Right. I guess the final thing I would say is that as we try to get input back, I was looking through the librarian's report. I had no questions. I was just looking through the data there. And it struck me that, most of our patrons come from outside the village.
Mm-hmm.
And a library is only useful based on the number of patrons that come through and use it. So, those, while the city owns the building, the patrons are a larger base. So how do we make sure that whole
That we're
diaspora
capturing,
of,
yes.
of so that, the people in Carmel Valley or in Monterey or
The 93923
coast.
just outside of our,
Yeah. How are we need to make sure we get their input too.
yes.
So, of course, the village, because the library's here.
Right.
But we can't lose track of the fact that there's people even outside the influence area
That are
interested.
using our library and have strong feelings about it, yes.
And the Pine Cone should help on that.
Yeah.
The pine cone will help very much on that, yes.
We'll have to figure out how we want to word the announcement, how we want the ad to look. Just say this is the way I've planned.
Yes, this is our
And
strategic
remodel.
plan.
This
Please
is-
weigh in on, or,
We need input. We have renderings of
Right.
what it's going to look like.
yep. It'll be, we're going to have a very eventful new year.
Right.
There's very, very heavy influence now in the city of historical, which is really came into effect the last 6 to 8 months. And that is going to be another issue when we get into this. The historical group in town is getting very, very powerful.
Yeah, I think that we're definitely, as we talk about library services, have, obviously kept, just from the Sunset program, the history is always in mind with library programs, and it's come up for our strategic plan group. And we went all the way back before we even got started with strategic planning for the library's history and how we got started before the Harrison was even built, because it's very important. Carmel has a very long memory. So thank you all very much for this. It's very, very helpful. And yes.
Can the foundation may have a comment? Can they make
Yeah,
a
would you
comment?
want to comment on that?
Thank you. Thank you so much. I would just ask on behalf of the foundation that we work together on any communications that are going out, whether it's to the Pine Cone or to these groups, like as we did with the Gathering Place, project, and so that we're in concert with our messaging and we're making sure that everything that we're saying is the same with our organization, since a lot of people think we're the same anyway, but also it's really important that we're on the same page.
We'll have to show we're a partnership is what it really is between
Right.
both organizations.
Right, so as we get ready to do the press release for the architect selection, we should work together with the library to make sure we're saying the same words anyway. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Let's move on now to consideration and updates to the library's collection development policy.
Okay, so before you today are some proposed amendments to our collection development policy. When I took over as library director in 2018, we kind of did a wholesale review of all of our policies, one of which was the collection development policy. And this is was already a good time for us to start looking at our policies. This was in the back of my mind. And two things brought this one forward to start us off with reviews of our policies. The first of which is our ongoing discussions about digital resources and what place they have in our collection development. We have been applying the collection development policy to purchase of licenses for electronic materials, so books through Overdrive and that type of thing. But then we had, Hoopla, and we have Canopy, and those aren't things that we necessarily cultivate in the same way that we do our hard copy collections. And so I wanted to include more explicit language in the collection development policy with regards to digital resources. At the same time that I've been thinking about this during our ongoing conversations about Hoopla in particular, the state adopted Assembly Bill 1825, which is the California Freedom to Read Act, which is very important, and it requires libraries who receive direct state funding, which we don't at this point. We have in the past. We used to get funds directly from the state for interlibrary loan. We do receive pass-through funds through Pacific Library Partnership and have applied for grants from the state directly from time to time. To have a collection development policy. Some libraries don't have one, and to provide that to the state, and it needs to include certain language, which I've included in the policy itself, but also in the staff report, to protect against challenges to collection development based on making sure that our collection meets broad and diverse needs of the community, but also that the public has the right to receive a range of social, political, just all of the things that libraries do so well, and really underlining those things in the policy and making sure that we're not excluding materials based on religion, sex, creed, all of these things, and especially in light of the challenges in the last few years throughout the country, but also in our state. In California, there are 52 challenges, and we celebrate Banned Books Month every year. That's really important, and it's something that we take very seriously, and we're very thoughtful about when we purchase things in for our collection, but also when we do weeding, of course, making sure that we maintain a well-balanced collection, a representative collection, and so we included the language requested by the state in this policy, and made some other minor little updates there, and you have the red line version as an attachment. I'm happy to answer any questions about this. And that's it. I'll leave it there.
I move that we approve the changes to the library's collection development policy.
Second?
Not quite yet.
Okay.
Well, I don't have a
Fair
quibble with it, really, but I just thought it was a little bit wordy, all this on the digital resources stuff, and I thought it could probably be, particularly when you start talking about the ebooks and digital audiobooks, and some of it felt repetitious to me, and I was wondering if, and some of the criteria that you mentioned was already referenced in the general criteria, so I don't know, I mean, it's not a deal breaker.
No.
I'm okay with it. If you have good reasons for leaving it all in, I'm okay with it. But it felt like it just got a little.
I went back and forth on that
overdone.
because I could see the repetition there, but because it was specific to the digital resources, and because digital resources and the ebooks encompass not only us purchasing things directly, but also
Right.
subscribing to collections that we don't do the development on,
Right.
it's a little bit different. And so I'm happy to go back and bring this back in January and scale some of that. There's no deal breakers here for me either, and do some wordsmithing and get rid of the repetition. But I did think about those things and go back and forth
Yeah,
on it, so I
yeah.
appreciate your noticing that.
Anyway, it's not.
Would you like to bring it back in January?
Personally, I just think it could be abbreviated.
That's
but,
fine.
Yeah.
That's
I need
fine.
to-
That's fine with me. I'm happy to bring it back in.
Withdraw my proposal?
Yep. No, I'm happy to bring. I'm happy to bring it back in January and do some
Okay,
more
thanks.
wordsmithing. But I appreciate that.
I'm
that
happy to wordsmith with you if you
yeah.
want, but it's.
Thank you.
I read it and I said, okay.
Yeah. I appreciate that. Okay. I'm glad that the sentiment, that everything else is
Yeah.
generally well taken, and I will probably reach out to you, Mary Jo. Thank
And
you.
then I understand why you did this one, but it made me wonder how many other policies have not been reviewed or revised since 2018? Because that's getting up there in
Yeah,
terms of
it
time.
was, we did it over the span of 2018, 2019, where we went through and reviewed all of our policies. So this will, for me, in my mind, this is the start of us going back and just doing a wholesale review
Maybe
of,
like a calendar or a
yeah,
list
monthly
of-
review
Yeah,
of,
just
and
so
some
we
of
get 'em
them,
up to date.
yeah, some of them might not need much tweaking, some of them might need more labor.
Just get
Yes.
it done in the
Get it
next
done in the next,
6
probably
months, year, or
2025,
whatever. Yeah.
yep. That'll be our policy
I don't know,
review
I
year.
forget how many there are, but, okay.
We've got 9 or
Can't wait for
10,
the dog access policy to come up again.
yes.
Okay,
All right.
thanks.
So we'll put
Thank
that
you.
off till next.
Okay, thank you.
No, thank you.
No,
I read it a couple times, but I don't know.
I read this a couple times. I read other libraries' policies numerous
Yeah.
times, so I appreciate,
It's
yeah.
not-
It was a government policy. To me, it's,
Yeah, let it go.
You
I
let it
know.
go,
I-
you
And
know.
I could let it go, really.
no,
It wasn't
it's,
like
yeah,
serious, but it was
I like, we're all,
No, the more succinct they are, the more
yeah.
They're easier to
accessible
follow.
they are
Yeah.
for not only us, but for the public. And so I think that's helpful.
As I said before, we're all in this together, so anybody's input, I'm more than welcome to. All right, let's move on now to consideration adoption of the meeting calendar for 2025. Any questions on that one? Any?
So we need to pick the November, December date. We're here at the special meeting, November 4th, so I
The
would,
5th looked right to me.
the 5th is a Friday, so I would
That's third.
either choose the
Thursday.
3rd or the 10th of
10th.
December for 2025.
Yeah, 3rd, you're right.
Any preferences from the group?
It was 3rd or the
Or the 10th? Those are just keeping with our normal schedule for Wednesdays
of February?
of
Of
December, because we combined the December
So, yeah.
because of Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Third works.
Yeah, so I thought that was,
Okay,
on my notes here, that was the 3rd.
okay, then we'll go with the 3rd.
Okay. We have to have a motion on that one?
I think, yes, make a motion to adopt the meeting calendar with the addition of December 3rd for the combined meeting.
Do I have a motion for that?
Yes. I move that we, we move our special meeting to December 3rd for 2025.
Have a second?
Second.
We got roll call, please?
Marie Claire Gorham,
Yes.
Phil Pardue,
Yes.
Mary Jo Williams,
Yes.
John Krischer.
Yes.
Approved, thank you.
So do we
Alright.
need to, for the library hours itself, I think in the past, haven't we had to have a vote on changing hours? Because
Oh, yeah.
the library hours didn't match the city hours, and it's the vacation time in between.
Yep.
Uh,
We did that last year. I
and
remember
when do
that.
we need to do that? I know we don't need to do it for this year, because I think we already approved it, right?
Right. So we'll need to look at that for the next year. And I have some ideas because we're going to be, I'll have a report out for the board in January with regards to Saturday hours.
Okay.
We're in the process of bringing more part-timers on board, and that's going to be a possibility in the new year. So we'll be looking at the holiday hours for next year, and then, but also expanding hours for the Saturday hours and maybe changing Monday hours. So that'll be an item for discussion.
I can't wait for that. That's all I hear about.
No.
Yes, it is, yes.
I hear that
That's
every
definitely-
day. I hear about when you're
Yeah.
going to be open on Saturdays.
So,
That's the problem.
so for January, we'll bring back the final collection development policy. We'll have a mid-year budget review and first draft, hopefully, of a strategic plan for this board to discuss.
Okay.
And do we
And-
want to have a schedule for the policy review, or do you want
Yeah,
just?
that's the main thing.
I'll bring forward a
We could
schedule for
bring
the
a-
policy review as well.
So that way
Yeah,
we could just get
just
them.
get 'em
calendar, I
done.
guess.
Yeah,
Yes.
A policy, one policy a meeting.
Yeah.
We could.
Be as
work it
simple as
way.
that.
That
Good
would
to
be the
get
way
them
to
done,
do it.
or
Mm-hmm.
some of them maybe could just, I don't know if you ever do consent, just review and.
We have done consent in the past, but everything got pulled off consent for discussion, so we stopped
Okay.
doing that.
Yeah. I think,
We have
Just curious.
the library board's always a very thoughtful group, but we could do a wholesale review of that. So I'll look at strategies for the best way
I
to
think I'd
review all
rather
of the
go every
policies.
one.
Okay,
You know,
yeah.
We can
Get
do
'em done.
multiple policies a meeting. There's no
yeah.
reason to take them one by one.
All right. Any other discussion from anybody? Any other things you'd like brought up? All right. I guess we can adjourn the meeting now. The meeting adjourned. Thank you very much for
Thank you
everybody
all.
being here. Thank you.